On today's episode of the Tiny Honda series, Taylor gets shot in the face with dirty gasoline. We take a look at what could be the worst Starbucks drink on the menu. And I try to make this tiny 50-year-old car work. God, I can almost block the whole thing in the shot. Alright guys, if you'll remember, this is the Honda Z600, the 1972 that we picked up earlier this year from Oklahoma, and we're finally going to be doing something with it today. So we'd announced this car back in I don't know, maybe it was April or May or something, and it's been a while. We haven't had any updates on it since then. That's because I've been finishing the Z and other various projects and updates. Sorry, I'm a little winded after pushing that. I'm out of shape. Oh my god, heartburn today. So yeah, you know, we've had this car about 7 or 8 months or so, and in that time I've been driving this thing around when I can. Of course, it is not something I really commute in or take out that often. Just, you know, having no AC, it's kind of unbearable at times to take around, but when we get a chance, man, this thing is just so much fun, and it just draws the attention of everyone. But today, we've actually got to address something. The fuel pump has gone out. I tested the fuse and looked at the electricals, and it's just not coming on anymore, so it won't start. I've got a replacement. I bought a cheap one on eBay, and it looks like these things are like shared with you know, a few Honda Power Sports items, so they're like super common, really easy to find, super cheap, which you would not kind of expect with an old obscure Honda car. This is going to kind of build the excitement to start this build series, so let's go ahead and start by tackling that fuel pump. Okay, time to find where to jack this thing up at. Wouldn't be too difficult, I think, but I've actually yet to go onto this car. I haven't really done anything with it other than just drive it. So well, let me tell you, that's all about to change. God, I forget how small this car is. Keep the jack here as a secondary precaution, but I don't think it's going anywhere. Okay, you are now joining me from under car cam, and it looks like this should house our fuel pump. I can see the lines going in here, and I took a quick look at the workshop manual, and it looks like it's in here. So we just got to find out how this comes out, and it doesn't look like there's any mounting hardware. It looks like it sits in like a little vented bucket, and there should be at least one bolt holding that in, or two, I think, but I don't see any down here, so it might just be sitting in there. So let's go into the car and find out what's going on here. I haven't had a great chance to show this, but the owner, he actually gave me an extra dashboard for this car because the current one that's installed is pretty cracked. Now, this other one is by no means perfect. It's definitely got its flaws, but it's probably in better shape than the other one, so probably swap that in at some point. Was also given a rear quarter panel for the car, as well as a front left quarter panel for this car, as well as 4 actual doors, and you know, all their window glass as well too. So I definitely was given a lot of parts to kind of bring this car back to life, which I'm very thankful for, but it means I've got to keep it somewhere, so why not keep it in the car itself? It's also got a really cool overhead light there that you saw, similar to like an aircraft style one, and in the glove box that's in really good shape as well too. Another personal favorite that I show most people to on this car is actually the rear spare tire compartment. It's actually part of the bumper, and it drops down to reveal the spare tire that you can pull out of the back.
Oh, hi Mark.
Move this delicate trim, and then I think this should just kind of pop out of here. Not positive. Let's move this seat forward. Frick. Wow. Why does that look so much smaller than the one that I bought? It also looks pretty new. That's way tiny. Another glimpse here, just wanted to show the size comparison. I mean, that is tiny. It looks like it's probably a more modern one that someone just set up in there, but this is like the OEM style one. So I don't know. It looks pretty new, like it shouldn't have failed already, so I don't know what's going on. All right, so I went ahead and disconnected the battery. So let us go ahead and disconnect this thing. So we'll start with these. Oh, wait. What's going on here? All right, so what I want to do now before I just rip that thing out though is make sure that we have continuity with our wires here, just to you know, make sure that it's not the wiring in the car that's wrong. This one should have been the positive, not that it truly matters. And then this one should be the negative. And let me grab the key and turn this thing on and see if we get any voltage here. Okay, well, it shot up to 12 there for a second. Now it's at like 10.9. I haven't driven this thing in a while, so that makes sense. So it looks like we do have power. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this thing out and replace it for sure. Test this out. So the one to the tank should be on the bottom here, as far as I'm aware. Let's see if we can make this reach to the top one. Okay, with both of those tentatively on there, let me plug these connectors in and see what we can find out here. See if this thing will work for us. Well guys, a bit of a bummer there with the fuel pump. It is not working at all. It was a tested unit that was supposed to work, even though it was used from eBay. So I'm gonna see if I can get my money back on that, but I just ordered a new OEM one. So it should be here in about 3 to 5 days or so. So we will continue when that thing is in. All right guys, so a couple days later and the pump has arrived, and this one is obviously way newer and way cleaner than the old one. And I went ahead and actually just connected it with some little test leads here to the battery, and it turned over instantly, so it's working. We just need to go throw it in the car now. I should have known better than to buy a 50-year-old $50 used example on eBay when plenty of these exist new, but I was trying to be a little bit cheap, which often, as you know, tends you into the bad side of projects. Turn it on. Let's see if she will crank, or if she'll start. Sounds weird. I'm gonna try adding some gas, and we'll see if that does anything for us. It's odd that the fuel pump is just ticking over every now and then. I've got to say, I'm pretty unfamiliar with old cars. The oldest thing I've ever owned is a 1984 Porsche 944, so I don't know if this is just how old fuel pumps kind of operate and act, but it was definitely strange for me to see for the first time. Really unsure what's going on here. At first the pump, you know, was working normally, and now it just kind of clicks every now and then. I'm not sure what's going on. The electrical connection is strong, the battery's charged. I just don't know. Okay, update here, both good and really bad. So I noticed while I was kind of taking a look at the fuel pump that fuel was leaking out of the inlet and the outlet, and I noticed that there were large flakes coming out of it. So it looks like there is either an extreme amount of dirt or rust, and I'm inclined to believe that it's rust. Yeah, it's just, yeah, those are rust flakes. So, which means I mean, that thing barely ran at all, and it was, it was just dumping flakes out of there. So that shows you how bad that gas tank must be, which really sucks because, well, that's a big and expensive thing, and I don't know the availability of those. So that's gonna be something fun to figure out. But yeah, not real pleased about that. We'll see. We'll figure out a game plan. Luckily this thing has a drain bolt, so we're gonna just try to take that thing out. That's right. The game plan was to pull the old fuel tank. This is probably the last thing that anyone wants to do on their list of car maintenance, but it really appeared that this was the only way to go, seeing as I didn't see any fuel filter,
this is not looking
which
good already.
eventually we did learn had been modified to be in the engine bay, but it wasn't where it normally should have lived, so my immediate thought was the tank was full of rust. And if you're thinking about how clean that gasoline looks, you wouldn't be alone in that thought. It really doesn't look as dirty as I was thinking it would. Sure, it looks a little brown once it's in the container, but really it's coming out pretty crystal clear and I'm not seeing any chunks of anything. Still, that's not going to keep me from doing the ecological thing and drinking all that gasoline.
I might have to
Go ahead and pull this spare out of the way.
I have 3 nuts holding up the tank on this back side, and I can't see any on the front. So I'm gonna try and disconnect those and see where that gets us. Also dropped gasoline into my eye a minute ago by, like, you know, being an idiot and not wearing eye protection under here. So that's the reason for the eye protection. Make sure and be safe when you do this kind of job, because that really burned, and who knows what kind of eye damage that could create. So yeah, be careful.
Okay, so we got those 3 that were under the car that we just looked at, and looking at the shop manual, there are supposed to be 3 that go here. As you can kind of see, there's a little stud sticking out there, nothing there, and a little bit of a stud there. I lied, those bolts are actually in there and those studs are part of that. It's just hard to see when I'm looking into the sun and it's dark up here. That exposure difference really makes it hard for me to see. Yeah, it looks like there's, I can't even tell. Those are probably either 10 or 12. Unfortunately, one of the captive nuts had actually rotated loose in the body, so the bolt wouldn't come out at all, and it was just seized in between layers of metal. So I tried to drill it out, punch it out. Eventually we made it work and were able to get the tank down.
Wow, that was tiny.
Well, yeah, so it does not look great in there. I'm trying to get my best view in here for you guys, but yeah, she's looking a little toasty. Let's see, pretty crusty in there. It's a little hard to tell. It's like a red and brown, so it looks like a combination of rust and I don't even know, maybe just sludge or something, or dirt buildup. Yeah, it's pretty dirty, so let's go ahead and put some of that evaporust in there. So This is the first time I've ever had to do any kind of tank repair, but it was pretty unanimous that people like to use Evaporust because it's really safe, biodegradable, not harmful in any way, and won't mess up the metal. And the other was the Pour 15 fuel tank sealer, and those in tandem do a really great job. So the first step is to empty all the gasoline, of course, and then add your Evaporust. Now I saw a few people mention that it's good to put some hardware in there so you can shake this thing around and kind of scrape up some of the loose rust.
Alright, well, as we can see, I think it looks a little cleaner. It's kind of hard to tell, but yeah, it looks a little cleaner. It still looks really odd, but you know, none of that stuff really cleaned up, and I rinsed this thing thoroughly and nothing else is coming out. So I don't know. I guess it's as clean as it's gonna get without getting in there and scrubbing whatever that is. But no rust really came out, so I'm a little confused. So it might be in one of those lines somewhere or in the filter. Just not really sure, but we're gonna go ahead and add that sealant to this tank as well too, just to make sure that it's, you know, future proofed as well. Alright, well, as you can see, we've used that tank coating, and it's actually solidified here in this inlet, so I've got to poke that through and get that out of there. It's probably a better idea to pry it out. It's pretty solid in there, but I had it standing on one end instead of just laying down, so I thought it would drain out, but really it just kind of solidifies and, you know, slowly runs out. Okay, it looks like it worked pretty well. I probably could have done a little bit better of a job, but it looks pretty thoroughly coated in most places. Funny thing is, there didn't really seem to be any rust when I actually, you know, was rinsing this thing out, which was interesting. So I don't know, we already had the products to do it, so might as well. And now I have that, you know, triple peace of mind that the tank's gonna be clean. So yeah. So the other thing that I've done is I got under the car and pulled out the rest of the fuel hoses, you know, that go to the pump and the tank as well too. Actually, that guy is still over here, but I'm gonna pull these off and just replace them. That one's a little bit, it's showing a little bit of age. The other ones aren't so bad, but the ends are kind of chewed up, and yeah, I might as well just replace these with new ones while I'm in there. I'm gonna go ahead and pull off this fuel filler neck hose here as well too. Just comes from you know, the gas cap down into the tank here, so I'm gonna see if I can find a suitable replacement for that. It's not the worst I've seen, but you know, it's still got some flexibility, but I kind of want to replace it anyway.
Do you not like the camera, Nika?
So I couldn't find a new fuel filler hose just down at your local Auto Riley parts, as they say. So this is actually in fine condition. I just wanted to replace it because it's starting to get a little brittle on one end, but we'll make do with that one, just like country girls. And then I got some various new hoses, you know, a 3/8 size. We just went and bought about a foot of it, or 2 feet of it, and then we also got this, it's actually a black heater hose, now that I look at it. So I don't know if that's going to be fuel rated, but it's just part of the evap system on this thing.
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, I think it should be okay. Better than the brittle plastic that was on there.
Yeah.
So we're just going to go ahead and replace some of those tubes that I'd showed previously. Oh, and then also, this thing didn't have a fuel filter at all, so I went ahead and ordered one because I noticed it was absent, which probably would have helped us with the rust situation. So I got a new one of those, and came in today, so we're going to be putting that in as well too. I know, she's more interesting.
Oh yeah, it's like Christmas.
I would have just gone and got like a generic one, but it has, you know, an inlet and outlet on different sides, so
Cool.
But that's what that's gonna look like.
Davey, what are you doing?
Getting my nuts together. So let's see if that fits, and I think it should, because I measured it.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's good.
Oh yeah, baby, that's the juice. And I'll be cutting part of that and using just a little other part of it for when we're in the car. Look at this brittle hose, man. It's like glass.
What the?
There was a really weird like routing inside like that little fuel pump housing too in the car. Had this like bit of fuel line curved with some hose on it, so I don't know what's going on there. But we're gonna make the routing work for us. Doubt we'll be reusing that metal piece though. All right, I'm putting the fuel filler back on here, and then we're gonna go ahead and put the tank in, and then get our hoses set up. We're gonna have to route them back in here and everything, and then, you know, trim them here for the. This is that evap thing I was talking about. It's like a, it creates like a full loop. So this hose actually runs up all the way up here, then comes back down.
Alright, so we're gonna get the tank held up and mounted in place and then go from there.
Yep. Liberty, liberty, liberty.
There's a reason why you're singing the Liberty Mutual song?
Yeah, I'm just manifesting them as a sponsor.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm paying a lot for insurance, man.
I mean, I'd rather get JG Whitworth if we're talking about jingles that bang.
If I really wanted an insurance, though, I'd get that. That
General?
That's literally what I was gonna say.
Shaq, bro.
White trash rates from an army guy. Here is a penguin, don't know why.
The General Car Insurance. It'll worry whoever you hit.
Someone's on your side.
I mean, I can see the stuff on my side, but I can't get it to go on.
Could almost clear it if I push the exhaust.
Well, hold on. I need to get this filler neck back up in here.
Alright.
Oh, I can almost get the stuff in there. I'm so close.
Installing this tank was really so much harder than it should have been. Kinda like removing the tank in the first place. Just fought us at every step. After the debacle that was installing the tank, it was time to get on the car and route the fuel lines into the car itself and to the fuel pump. And with the help of the project car gods, we were granted a touch of serenity, and the fuel pump was fully installed.
Just spill the shit everywhere.
Yeah.
There it goes.
Is it pulling in fuel?
Yeah. Let it keep going. Awesome. It's still filling up. Should we spray like some starting fluid in there?
Yeah. Is that enough blood?
Yeah.
Alright, ready?
Just turn the key forward. See if it's down here. I think the battery's low, huh?
Very well could be.
Yep, it's coming out.
Okay. Well, okay, now it's barely coming on, but I don't know if that's the battery or the fuel pump itself. So let's plug this in.
You going? I wonder if I spray like just some starting fluid up the intake, if it'll like kick over and be enough to draw fuel.
Yeah, maybe so.
like constantly spraying.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, and this pump is just like...
Not doing anything?
Nope. Pretty stroke?
See this? This is like, I don't know if you can even see, put it in the light. This was just like a very short blast of what came out. This is all the sediment. Look at that.
That was from a fuel filter that was in the engine bay.
All that sediment, dude.
That's great. One short little like burst of air. I'm glad we're doing that.
Yeah, I figured we could get something out of it like this.
Okay.
Alright, go ahead. Okay. So we got a huge chunk of shit out.
So you gotta take it out. Well, you can take it out when it's forward.
Even cycled up the compressor.
Here we are. About 50 feet from the house. We think the brake seized up on the right corner.
Yeah, so if you get in there, you can see the liquid coming out of the back of the wheel and then dripping on the ground.
Yeah, pretty sure
You can see it.
wheel cylinder failed in there and then locked that up. We were driving and it just stopped. We were so excited about our victory with the car running really well. And then she stopped here at the end of the cul-de-sac. So we're gonna wheelie this bad boy back home. I'm gonna put the jack under it like a dolly. It's not focused very well. And I'm gonna have Taylor get in the car and drive it backwards while I lift the back end up. Oops.
Another news, it does run pretty well.
Hey, it runs really well.
Should I start it?
In a second. Oh, I got a reverse light out.
Wow, that sure felt like a lot of work for something that really could have and should have been a pretty simple job. But that's just how project cars go, and especially 50-year-old ones at that. I have no regrets though, as we work towards putting this car back on the road, continuing on the hard work that put these cars together by Honda 50 years ago. Hard to believe this car was around before the beloved Civic or Accord, but that's part of what makes this car not only unique, but a historical piece as well. To car people like us, keeping something around like this little and forgotten Honda is an important part of keeping the memories of the past alive and well. Thanks for joining us this time, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode when we tackle the brakes and hopefully get this little shoe back on the road.